Hey, it's Tuesday night. You guys caught me mid-sip because I mistimed our music timer. No, really, I did that on purpose. It's Tuesday night. You guys know what that is. Other than it's time for the pregame blitz with yours truly, Larry Godwin. Some people call me LG. You see the letters in the background. That's me. And I've got my buddy Cole Moore, TCC, Tiff County, South Georgia super fan. Sometimes he likes Lowndes, sometimes he doesn't. Sometimes he likes the Braves, sometimes he doesn't. Well, I'm not calling Cole a bandwagon fan. I'm calling him a super fan. So, speaking of the super fan himself, let me go ahead and bring him on the screen. Super fan Cole Moore, how you doing today?
What's going on, LG?
Listen, man. We got a lot of stuff to talk about tonight. There's a lot of stuff going down all over these regions in South Georgia. I see you brag. I see you bragging. And at the end of the show, see, you are flying sky high as long as we are talking about TCC. But I've noticed that you kind of drop your shoulders a little bit. You have your demeanor changes as soon as we talk about Georgia, Florida.
Yeah, it's a high school show, ain't it?
It's a football fan super show. That's what I call it. Anyway, we got a lot to talk about tonight. But let me go ahead and thank our sponsors, guys that make all this stuff possible. Pepsi Bottling Company. You guys know the flavors. You probably pick them up every single day. Flavors like Pepsi, Mountain Dew, Rockstar, Mountain Dew Spark, Mountain Dew Energy. I like all these flavors with the exception of Mountain Dew Energy, because I tried that one time and it truly gave me wings, and it's like, man, wasn't meant to fly. So that wasn't for me. But all these other flavors, I'm all over them, man, especially this one on the screen, Mountain Dew Spark. We thank you to Pepsi Bottling Company for making all that possible. Guys, I was told last week that Christmas and the holiday season is right around the corner, which that means, guys, that if you have any inclination, if you have any thought about beautifying your house in the form of having some custom window treatments done, then now is the time to call Tim Neesmith up with a Shade of Perfection, and he will go ahead and make your house look beautiful from the inside out. That's what Tim does. So thank you so much to A Shade of Perfection and Tim Neesmith. We also want to thank these guys because, Cole, it is getting to be late in the football season, and many, many fans all over South Georgia are starting to suffer from migraines galore. And guys, if that's the case, you want to call Josh and Justin. They are the certified headache medicine specialists. They offer a variety of migraine and back pain treatments.
If you are suffering from NICAR running down the field all over you, those guys are who you need to see.
I did have a headache last Friday night, and we will get all into that because speaking of Lowndes and Concord, there's some interesting scenarios, Cole, when we're talking about Region 178. I've laid out 4 possible scenarios that could happen in the final 2 weeks, and I'm sure that's not all of them. Those are them. If something crazy is going to happen, these 4 are the most likely it's going to happen. So I can't wait to show all that to you and the fine folks that are watching tonight. So if you're a Lowndes fan, if you're a Lowndes fan, you definitely want to watch tonight's show. Share this show with your fellow Lowndes buddies, because we need every Lowndes fan watching tonight to know the significance of this Friday night's game. You guys won't believe how important this Friday night's game is if you're a Lowndes fan and if you're a Richmond Hill fan, and we'll get into all that stuff. But it can go many, many different ways. You know what else could go many different ways? Our economy. And the stock market has been all over the place. But you know what? I'm still confident because I got my right hand man in Kyle Conger. He is He is the captain of my financial ship right now, and I trust my captain. White Oak Investment, Kyle Conger, can help you guys out and set you up on the path to financial soundness, even in this troubling economy. We want to thank Matthew Godwin with Verizon Wireless on Perimeter Road. We talked about Christmas right around the corner, guys. That means that, guys, might as well surprise your wife with a new iPhone 14, or if she likes Android phones, they offer those too. They offer accessories like phone cases, screen protectors, all that stuff that you need for your mobile devices. They also offer small business accounts. If that is what you need, then call Matthew Godwin with Verizon Wireless on Perimeter Road. Couple more, guys. Steve Nichols, Freedom with Steve Nichols. He gets your blood boiling every single morning. I think I've gotten Cole and our other super fan, Chase Garnto, hooked on this show. So anyway, I see them comment every once in a while. Steve does make you think. He will challenge you. Sometimes he will upset you, but he will make you think. And that's what he's there for. Freedom with Steve Nichols. You can catch him every Monday through Friday, 6 to 9 a.m. And finally, Commercial Banking Company. We were talking about financial stuff a while ago. One cool thing that I like is in stressful times when I'm thinking about my money, that kind of stuff, and I walk through the doors of financial institution, it's cool to have someone that knows my name. And these folks at Commercial Banking Company, they're your hometown bankers. If you need a checking account, savings account, CDs, IRAs, auto loans, mortgage loans, business loans. Hey, listen, even with mortgage rates going sky high right now, they're currently pressing 7%. If you're in the market for a house, rates aren't going to go down anytime soon. They're probably going to continue to go back up. Now's the time to go ahead and jump on that house that you want. You can probably get it at an affordable price because home prices, I think, are starting to come down. And then just refinance later when the rates actually do go down. So get into the house that you want, refinance later. That's one particular strategy, but don't listen to me because I'm not a financial advisor. These folks at Commercial Banking Company can help you answer those types of questions. So that's our sponsors. We're approaching the end of the season. We're contacting these sponsors and many others to re-up for next year, Cole, because we are expecting to do some really, really cool things next year. We're currently in the planning stages now. So you guys want to make sure, stick with us rest of the season going into next year, because we have a lot of cool stuff planned. And you know us, we like to deploy technology. And so we're thinking about some really, really cool stuff for next year. So anyway, we're not into next year. We're into this year right now, Cole. So we got to finish out this season strong. And there are some teams that are on the bubble with a couple of weeks left in the regular season. It's a make it or break it kind of last couple of weeks for these teams.
Yeah, it's the last 2 weeks of the regular season are going to be fun if you're a high school football fan, so, especially in South Georgia. So much is going on. We got some fun stuff going on. So we got some big games coming up.
Yeah.
For a lot of teams. A lot of teams do or die for the playoffs. I mean,
right.
So it's going to be fun. And man, this is what we love about high school football, LG. Man, this is the time of year. I think we had a conversation about scenarios and this, that, and the other. And
yeah,
man, it's so crazy when you get around this year where you get possible 3-way ties, 4-way ties, and man, Friday night, man, let's have some fun, man.
Yeah. Listen, I'm going to go ahead and share some region standings because we did have some really, really big games this past week, right?
Oh, yeah. Big games.
Check this out, Cole. So Region 178, when I was laying out the agenda for the show, I started to type this stuff out, and I didn't realize we had so many regions down in South Georgia where these final 2 weeks, man, nothing has been settled. It can go so many different ways. Region 17A, 6A, 2A, it can go many, many different ways. So nothing has been settled.
Correct.
Let's get into Region 178. This one's going to come down to a nail biter, but something is actually happening this Friday night. Before we get into that, let's go over this last week's results. And this is brought to you by the guys at Georgia High School Football Daily. This is directly off of their site. Happy to promote their site because they provide a great deal of great information if you're a high school football fan. So Todd Holcomb, Chip Say, those guys do a great job. So here's what Region 17A looks like, Cole. So you got Colquitt County defeating my Lowndes Vikings 42-14. That game wasn't even as close as that score. It was, as a Lowndes fan, it was an embarrassing loss, no doubt. But we're not going to get into that. Let's just talk about the outcomes itself. This loss really puts Colquitt in the win puts Colquitt into the driver's seat, and the loss really, really devastates the Lowndes Vikings because, man, oh man, they are 0-2 in the region, 4-4 for the year, and it's not looking too good for my Vikings, Cole.
No, I mean I talk about it all the time. When you get in the money games, I call them. So does Coach Justin Rogers, but that's neither here nor there.
It sounds like you're high on Justin Rogers.
I am, regardless of what anybody wants to say about Justin Rogers. But these games matter, and it's so cliche when we come to region games. But it's so important to start off fast. You get that momentum in region play, and you keep building. And now Lowndes is sitting at 0-2. But as the region standings go, I mean, you play two tough teams. I mean, right off the bat, you play Valdosta, who has a really good defense. And then Colquitt County, you got to see them first up and close Friday night.
They are some kind of team too, man. If any of our viewers have watched Colquitt on any of their, I guess their on-demand videos on NFHS this year, that doesn't do it justice. To see them up close in person, they have just weapons all over the field on the offensive side of the ball.
Sure.
Whether you're talking about Nye Carr or Landon Thomas, Charlie Pace, Nico Fan, and then those are the big names. Even the guys that you haven't really, it's not a household name, they were really, really good as well.
Yeah, the one thing a lot of people were harping on coming into this year for Colquitt was their young offensive line, and they've really come together, and they really played well all season. They continue to get better. I was able to watch a couple highlights, and those guys up front were doing work. So Colquitt is a very good team. Now, if you're Lowndes, you're put in a position, man, you have to win.
Yeah.
You cannot afford to go to an 0-3. You have to win against Richmond. You got to get in the win column.
Yeah, so let's cover the rest of the region, and we'll double back and talk about the upcoming game between Lowndes and Richmond Hill. So Valdosta is 8-1 overall, and 2-1 in the region after a surprising loss to Camden County. Did you see that coming? I thought Valdosta was going to have enough offense, and their defense was really going to shut down Camden County and just carry that Wildcat team. I thought it was going to be a close game, but I expected Valdosta to win that thing.
Yeah, I'm not going to give the guy's name, but he's a huge Valdosta fan. Called me Friday and said he was worried about Camden, and I was thinking it was a joke. Right? I'm laughing because I said Tuesday night I thought Valdosta would have no problem.
Yeah,
but this in particular person who made sense. He said that Camden County offense that Jeff Herron runs, that in particular wing T, is perfect against an aggressive Valdosta unit. And he was telling me, he said, we're struggling offensively, and the aggressiveness could go against us, and it did. Camden County was able to get that ball game into a close ball game, was able to pull it out. Huge win for Jeff Herron. Not only for the program that he's trying to rebuild, but that's a huge win, LG. This is a huge win region-wise. It would be crazy if Camden County found a way to sneak up in that number 2 spot.
Oh my gosh. I mean, it's possible. We're going to lay out those scenarios in a couple of minutes, Cole, but you are exactly right. I mean, we were talking just a few weeks ago, 2-3 weeks ago, about Camden struggling. They've lost 3 games, and now here they are going into the region, especially after that loss to Colquitt County. We just thought that Camden was going to play Lowndes for the 3rd seed, possibly the 4th seed, but here they are. They're in a position to actually, they could possibly win this region.
Yeah, well, and it's funny because I had Camden County fans early before the season started that felt like they could win that, finish it the 2nd seed in Region 1.
Yeah.
Now, I'm sure they didn't feel that way after, several weeks go by, but this is why you never take for granted Jeff Herron. He's a master. I know your boy Randy McPherson was a mastermind with that wing tee, but Jeff Herron can run it. And when you get that offense slowly going, 2-3 yards here, 3 or 4 yards here, and then boom, he hits you with a big play. And Camden's defense kept them in the ball game, got it into the 4th quarter. Camden made some plays. There you go. You got your perfect. It's like a perfect scenario for an upset. And Jeff Herron, I don't know what it is, man. Jeff Herron finds a way to get his group, wherever he is with that wing tee. He's a phenomenal head coach, and he found a way to get that big. That's a huge win.
Yeah, and one of the scenarios that you just talked about there with the wing tee, that's exactly what they did. They kept pounding Valdosta 3-4 yards at a time, and one of their scoring plays, they snuck a receiver out behind that defense because those safeties start edging up. They start coming up.
Yeah,
and he finds the perfect time, slips a receiver out of the backfield, and boom, just caught Valdosta flat-footed, and that was the difference in the game.
Yeah, that highlight. I encourage anybody that hasn't watched that highlight, if you're a football guy, it's such a beautiful play call.
Right.
Because you've seen Valdosta come in, they stack the box. They're not going to let Camden beat them. They know they're not a threat to pass. Oops. Touchdown. And it was just such a beautiful play call.
Yeah, so Camden kicks a field goal to go up 17-14. Valdosta's got a chance. They're driving. They line up for a field goal, and lo and behold, Camden blocks it to preserve the win. And I think that took place with like 6 minutes left in the game, and apparently Camden just ran out. 6 minutes.
You cannot
sounds like
6
minutes. In a typical ball game with a couple of spread teams, both teams might get the ball a couple more times, but not with the wing tee Jeff Herron team. If they take over with 6 minutes and you don't shut them 3 and out, the game's over.
Yeah, that's the difference, man. Jeff Herron, a wing tee offense can run 6 minutes off the clock.
Yeah.
And that's why we don't see it much as we used to, right, LG? We don't see that wing tee. So our kids are not as familiar with it. So that's what's dangerous too. You have to make your possessions count, and Valdosta couldn't get enough of those.
That's right. So now I put the region standings back on the screen. So we talked about Colquitt, we talked about Valdosta and Camden, and now here's Lowndes and Richmond Hill. They both find themselves in a very, very awful situation. If you're a Lowndes fan, both teams are 0-2, and they meet on the field this coming week. Now Lowndes does take on Camden the last game of the regular season, but Cole, it may not matter because this Friday night is a must win for both Lowndes and Richmond Hill, and we'll talk about it in a second. Let me go ahead and bring up these possible scenarios. I don't know if you can see this.
That's better.
All right, so better. Here is here's the region standings right here. So here are scenarios 1, 2, 3. I actually painted out 4 scenarios here. Now, one of these scenarios right here, where if Colquitt wins out both games, their final 2, right? They go 4-0, number 1 in the region. If Colquitt wins next week against Valdosta, Valdosta's regular season is over with. They would finish the region schedule at 2-2 because they just lost to Camden, right? If Camden loses to Lowndes, because Camden's only got one game left, they're off this week, but they got a game next week against Lowndes, they would be 2-2. If Lowndes wins out, so if they beat Richmond Hill this Friday night and Camden next Friday night, then you have a three-way tie for the second seed between Valdosta, Camden, and Lowndes, because all three of those teams have beaten one another.
Yeah.
Right? So, which is a crazy, crazy situation. So I've planned for that. What if that happens? Check this out, Cole. These are the tiebreaker for Region 178, and I've confirmed this. Okay. The tiebreaker is points allowed between the three teams that are involved in the tie. No other region teams. Okay. So right now, and these are the scores that I've got highlighted here. Now I plugged in some potential scores. So some of these games haven't been played yet, but games I will go ahead and highlight. If you watch my mouse cursor here, the Valdosta Camden game has already been played. So correct. Valdosta gave up or allowed 17 points to Camden. Okay. Valdosta gave up or allowed 6 points to Lowndes. So they have a total allowance of 23 points, right? So Camden and Lowndes have to beat 23 points.
Yep.
To take that seed. So if we fast forward, assuming that Lowndes beats Richmond Hill, so that means, Cole, Lowndes has given up 13 points to Valdosta. So that means if you're a Lowndes fan, listen up closely. If Lowndes beats Camden, Lowndes cannot give up more than 9 points to take the second seed.
See, this is what makes high school football around this time so wonderful. You got these last couple weeks, all these scenarios take place. I think we had a conversation the other day. About, a couple years back where Lowndes, Tift, and Colquitt had a three-way tie for first place.
That's right. That's exactly right.
So
exactly right.
This is why it's so important, LG, to take care of your own business. Just win the ball games, go play your best game. But the scenario where you could possibly, that is a possible scenario where there's a three-way tie for second place.
It's very real. It could happen, but more interestingly, even if Lowndes wins, in order to take the second seed in the region, Lowndes cannot give up more than 9 points against Camden County. What if they give up 10 points? So that would make a very interesting 23 points allowed for Lowndes, 23 points allowed for Valdosta. And then I think if that's the case, that would eliminate Camden because they would have more than 23 points. So then it would go to a head-to-head versus Lowndes and Valdosta, and Valdosta beating Lowndes, Valdosta would take the second seed. So Lowndes has to win this final two games and not give up more than 9 points to Camden County. So that would be a slobber knocker of a game if that were the case over in Kingsland in a couple of weeks.
Yeah, well, see, here's the problem with that. You just 9 points, you don't like your odds, right? I mean, two missed assignments, you got 14 points, right? You have two defensive missed assignments, and you got 14 points.
That's right.
Or you have a situation where you have a lot of penalties on a drive, right?
That's right.
I mean, that's why it's going to be fun, right? These next 2 weeks, there's going to be us fans are going to be scoreboard watching, right? We're going to see who's, and there's a lot of pressure on these teams, right? A lot of pressure on these teams, a lot of pressure on the coaches, a lot of pressure on the coaching staffs to perform these last 2 weeks.
That's right.
Your playoff hopes ride on the next 2 weeks.
Yeah, absolutely, man. So if this scenario plays out, that's scenario one. and Lowndes wins against Camden and gives up more than 9 points, then Valdosta would take the 2nd seed. Lowndes would win the head-to-head matchup against Camden and take the 3rd seed, and Camden would be number 4.
Boy.
Yeah. Now, let me go up the screen a little bit. See this little asterisk right here?
Yeah.
That means that says elimination game. So if you go up to this one, between these 2 teams right here, Lowndes versus Richmond, it doesn't matter what the scenario, how it plays out in Kingsland in a couple of weeks with Lowndes and Camden. If Lowndes loses this game to Richmond Hill this week, they're done. They're out of the playoffs.
Yeah.
If Richmond Hill loses the game to Lowndes, Richmond Hill's out of the playoffs. So I've got some Lowndes fans like, how can that be? Because if we lose to Richmond Hill and we still beat Camden, we would still beat Camden. But Camden, we can't catch Camden because they're currently at 2-1. And if they lose to us, they would be 2-2. But we would still be 1-3.
Right. Again, Lowndes fans, listen to me clearly. You have to win Friday night in order to get to Camden, and
Correct.
Then you start playing for seeding. If you want a playoff spot, Lowndes County Vikings, you have to win against Richmond Hill, because if you lose to Richmond Hill and you beat Camden, yes,
Richmond Hill owns the tiebreaker.
Richmond Hill owns the tiebreaker, and they will go in as the number 4 seed, and Lowndes will be sitting at home.
Correct.
So
exactly
so it's going to be interesting. That's a game I got highlighted because both Richmond Hill and Lowndes, they're going to throw everything. The whole book is coming. Trick plays, everything you've been holding on to that you haven't ran, you're going to run Friday night.
That's right.
So, and dude, that situations like this is why I love Georgia high school football, man. You know, regardless, I don't think either one of these are going to make a deep run in the playoffs. But these kids, these seniors, have fought for this time, and it's all on the line Friday night for Lowndes and Richmond Hill.
That's right. Now, there is one other potential scenario that we need to talk about. Let me put that back on the screen, and that is scenario number. There's 2 possible scenarios. Scenario number 2 is if Colquitt loses to Valdosta, Cole, right? Colquitt goes to 3-1. If Valdosta beats Colquitt, Valdosta would also be in 3-1. If Camden defeats Lowndes in a couple of weeks, Camden is 3-1. So now you have a 3-way tie between Colquitt, Valdosta, and Camden for the top seeding. So then, and then all 3 of these teams have defeated each other, and it goes back to that crazy tiebreaker, points allowed, right? So that's another possible scenario that could very well play out. Scenario number 3, Colquitt loses to Valdosta. They go to 3-1. Valdosta wins. They go to 3-1. Camden loses to Lowndes to go to 2-2. Lowndes wins both their final games to go to 2-2. So you have 2 teams tied at the top, 2 teams tied at the bottom. In this particular case, Valdosta would take the number 1 seed because they have a head-to-head tiebreaker win against Colquitt, and Lowndes would take the 3rd seed because they have a head-to-head win against Camden. So we got all kinds of crazy scenarios.
Yeah, the next 2 weeks, it's hard to believe region titles, region seedings are hanging in the balance in the next 2 weeks.
Now, by chance, if the miracle of miracles happens and Richmond Hill wins both its final 2 games, they beat Lowndes and beat Colquitt in the last week of the season, and Colquitt loses both its final games, Colquitt would go to 2-2. Valdosta, by defeating Colquitt, would go to 3-1. Camden losing to Lowndes would go to 2-2. I'm sorry, Camden defeating Lowndes. No. Yeah. Well, I got that scenario laid out wrong. Well, Richmond Hill wins both, and they would go to 2-2. So now you have a 3-way tie between Colquitt, Camden, and Richmond Hill.
Yeah. That scenario sounds fun and all, but Colquitt's not dropping the next two ball games.
They're certainly not losing to Richmond Hill.
No. It sounds really good. But that 1-7A thing is fun and all, but I got to I'm gonna go ahead and cut it. I'm gonna give a dang shout out to my boys, the Thomas County Central Yellow Jackets.
Oh,
I'm gonna give you a name. I'm gonna give you several teams, LG. Lee County, Houston County, right? Northside Warner Robins, Veterans, TIP, and Thomas County Central. If I was to told you at the beginning of the season, 3 games in the region play, that Thomas County Central would have been the only team to have solidified their playoff spot, what would you have told me?
You are out of your mind and you need to be on meds.
Thomas County Central is 3-0 and is the only team undefeated in the region play, and they will get to prove to everybody that they are the big dog.
Can you believe we are talking about Thomas County Central as potentially the big dog in Region 1-6A?
Well, no, I can't believe it. Yeah, and that's just me being honest. We're talking about, this is the same team that has struggled the last, I don't know how many years in 4A.
Yeah.
I mean, their first year in 6A, they get Justin Rogers, who, I'm sorry, I'm bipartial and everything, but he deserves to be coach of the year in the state of Georgia.
I certainly agree with that.
I mean, this is a team that's 8-0. They have their first winning season since 2016. I want to remind you, their first winning season since 2016. And they're 1 win away from hosting a playoff game. And if they sweep, they're the region champs.
Yeah.
That's crazy.
Yeah. As crazy as it sounds, you're exactly right. So Thomas County Central, surprise, surprise. I mean, they've come out of nowhere. But in order to set up this crazy possible scenario, Lee County just got through playing Northside Warner Robins. And I don't want to say they shocked the state, but the way that Lee County lost shocked the state, right?
I think the play calling shocked me. I'm not big on knocking a coach, and I'm not, because Dean Fabrizio has 2 state titles, right?
Yeah.
So I'm not going to knock the man because, hey, he's got 2 state titles. What do I know? I'm just a media guy talking on a show, right? But the play calling that allowed that situation to go down has let Northside throw a wrench into this whole region, because Central, we thought win against Houston. We're going to play for a region championship against Lee County and Leesburg, and Northside's not going to matter. Lo and behold, now we are putting in position we have to win these games.
So if you're a football fan and you don't know what we're talking about, right? I'm actually going to put this video, the last play of the game, up on the screen everyone can see it, right? And so, Cole, set the scenario up for us. So with 6 minutes left in the fourth quarter, Lee County is up by 20 points.
With 6.5 minutes to go, Lee County was up 20-0 against Northside. Game in hand, right?
Yeah.
You think.
So Northside dwindles the lead down. They keep chipping away, and it comes downtown basically, 6 seconds left in the game, 7 seconds left in the game?
There was 7 seconds on the play clock when Lee County decides to run the play.
And so don't give the outcome away, the ending away. We're going to show it to you on the screen. So when this pops up on the screen, Lee County is in their red jerseys with the white helmets. So there's no mistaking it. Okay. This is basically the last play of the game. They've got the ball at Northside's 44-yard line, seemingly to run out the clock. Okay. So here it is. Check this out. Take this.
I'm sorry.
Take this off the screen. Here we go.
Sure,
So
everybody.
Lee County, with 7 seconds left in the clock in the game, they line up in a pistol formation. Quarterback takes the snap. He's rolling, getting tremendous pressure. He fumbles the ball. Northside picks it up, and he's stumbling, and he's running, and he's running. Oh, my God. Northside, touchdown. The Northside Warner Robins Eagles are back, and they defeat the Lee County Trojans.
What?
Wow.
I've watched this video about 100 times, and I still cannot believe what transpired. I don't understand why you don't pooch punt it. I don't understand rugby style punt. Anything.
Well, they could have done a number of different things, right? With 7 seconds left, what were they up by 3 or 4?
3.
They were up by 3. Okay.
3. Yeah. If I'm going for it in that situation, honestly, I would run a sweep to the outside and let Crowma just take off. Hey, just watch the clock, run around there. You're our sure-handed back. But I don't understand, and I think I told you, why you have a sophomore quarterback with not a lot of varsity experience.
Right.
A couple games, I think maybe only 2 games, LG, 2 or 3 games. And you put the ball in his hand with Northside bringing everybody. You had to know they're going after that football.
Sure.
And Dean Fabrizio did get on a radio show earlier this week, and was talking about, he takes full responsibility. You got to take full responsibility, because I just don't know in a big game like that if I could just, so many things could have went wrong, and they did. And I understand block punt. You could add a block punt, a punt return for a touchdown, whatever, But I don't think I would have put my young signal caller in that situation. But hey, that's why he makes the big bucks, not me.
Yeah, and to his credit, he didn't try to duck it. He didn't try to avoid being asked about it. He took full responsibility. He says that decision, not blaming it on his coaching staff. He said that decision is on the head coach.
Yeah, but I have another issue, LG, I would like to bring up about that game. And it doesn't have anything to do with that play, right? You were up 22-0 with 6.5 minutes left to go in the ball game. You have the best running back in the state, if not the country. Some people say,
let me stop you for a second right there before you finish your thought. You do realize that you are a TCC booster and super fan, and you guys play Lee County this Friday night. And do you really want, they're going to be watching this and looking for any type of bulletin board material, right? So knowing that, finish your thought.
Okay. Crowma is the best running back in the state, if not the country. He's got offers from everywhere. You have 6.5 minutes left.
Yeah.
I understand turnovers happen, but you can't put it on that play for the reasoning of the loss. And hats off to Dean Fabrizio for taking credit for that call. But he knows, just like I do, and just like everybody else does, there's several plays that happen during the game that you can't just blame one play on the game.
Exactly right.
There were things that happened that last 6.5 minutes that put Lee County in that position. Again, you could have made any different call. And I understand Lee County, as far as Thomas County Central going to Lee, look, we know that Lee probably played their worst game of the season in that the worst quarter they played all season. We know that we're going to get a good, really focused bunch at Lee County. But I'm going to tell you, I had some doubts still, LG. We were sitting at 7-0. I had some doubts when Houston went up 21-14. I did. But then Central went on a 28-0 run to put the game out of reach. Okay. Yeah. Houston's a good football team. They got studs. The quarterback is just tall. I have never seen a tall quarterback that tall, and he's going to be a problem for a while because I think he's only a sophomore. But hats off to Justin Rogers and the whole coaching staff. They kept we haven't really been put in that adversity situation against a really good football team. We're up 14-7 at half. Houston scores the next 14, and then Central scores the next 28. Yeah. Just great job. And I think this is going to be a really good football game.
Yeah.
And I do think Central's going to win it.
Let me offer you some commentary, if I could.
Yeah.
For the viewers out there that they're disappointed with their team, maybe they've got a newer head coach, or maybe they're Tiff County that's got a second-year head coach. What Central's been able to do with a first-year head coach, to me, is amazing. It's not surprising to me, but it is an amazing feat. Here's the amazing part. Yeah, I think I've said on this show many, many times, as well as other shows, a program needs 4 things in place in order for it to be a really, really good program, a sustainable program. I don't know. I call them the 4 pillars of success. I don't know if viewers that are watching tonight remember those conversations, but here they are. You've got to have an administration that really, really supports your program, not this half-ass stuff, that really supports the program, right? Gives it the resources that it needs, is behind the coach 100%, doesn't backbite, there's no infighting, an administration that is sold out for its program. 2, you got to have a really, really good head coach.
Agreed.
Right? No mediocre stuff. You got to have a really, really good head coach. 3, you got to have not superstars. It's great to have superstars, but you got to have at least good football players that are coachable.
Agreed.
And then 4, you got to have the community support that is sold out for the program. If you have those 4 things in place, there's no stopping your program. You're going to lose some games every once in a while, but you're going to win a lot more than you lose. And TCC, from what I've seen, has all 4 pillars in place.
Yeah, it's like night and day. It really is, from last year to this year. The support, I'm going to tell you, Thomas County, the county, as we call ourselves, I want to shout out the fans. I mean, every week it's been unbelievable support. Unbelievable support, and I have no doubt. Meggs, Coolidge, Boston, I'm calling us all out. We
all
need
those
to be
metropolitan
in
areas
Friday night to support these kids. This coaching staff has worked their tails off. Our kids have worked their butts off. They need our support. I don't care if it's in Leesburg or whatever. We need to make sure we're there and we're ready to fight for our guys. And I'm going to tell you, it's unbelievable to watch. Like I said, I've been to mostly every home game, or every game, for Thomas County Central. And it's still hard to believe that this is a team that couldn't compete in 4A last year. And they jumped up to 6A, and man, they made a believer out of me last Friday.
Georgia coach trainer says TCC will snap back to reality next year. Shoot, I'll one up you. Central may snap back to reality this year because the last 2 games are really tough opponents. You've got Lee County and Northside Warner Robins to close out the year, heading into the playoffs. You guys have sealed a playoff berth, I'm pretty sure, right?
Yes, we're at least we can do 3-0 in the 3.
Yeah, and so now you're playing for the first or second or the second seed, And I think you've got the firepower and the will to do it, but you guys are going to be playing a very pissed off Lee County this Friday night and a very confident Northside Warner Robins. You know, they're 5-3 on the year, but now they are riding a wave of confidence.
Yeah.
And you better watch out when you're playing a confident team. I mean, you got to watch out. So two very tough games to close out the year for your Yellow Jackets.
And that's good and all. And I agree with everything you're saying. But if you don't think that ain't a confident bunch down there at Thomas County Central right now, I don't know what to tell you. That is a confident bunch. We are putting freshmen out there Friday night that were making plays. Touchdown, freshman wide receiver, freshman defensive lineman who had a couple sacks. This whole team is playing with confidence, and they're playing with their hair on fire. Coach Thornton, Coach Cam, Coach Clark, on the defensive side of the ball, they've done a phenomenal job. And I think Central will have something to say about this in this whole 6A title race. I think regardless of what happens the next two, I don't see Central losing both of them. I will say that.
That's right. Now, we're going to skip over Region 1, 5A and 4A because it's really not a close race. Ware and Coffee, not this week, but next week. So next week, we'll spend a little bit more time on Ware and Coffee. And 1, 4A, not this week, but next week, we'll spend some time on Cairo versus Bainbridge.
Yeah.
But surprisingly, to me, Class 1, 3A has become very, very competitive. It didn't look this way at the beginning of the season, but Thomasville has hung in there. They lost 3 games early on to some tough opponents, but man, they are sitting high at 4-0 in the region. And you talk about a confident Bulldog bunch. They are a confident set of Bulldogs right now.
LG, I want to I'm not sure if you know, but Thomasville's won that region.
That's right. They've won head to head against Daugherty, and they've beaten Carver. And they've got Chris this week, but Chris can't catch Thomasville. No. So it looks like Thomasville's region.
Yeah, and look, I'm gonna give a hats off. It's no secret that I am not a fan of the Thomasville Bulldogs. But my hat goes off to Jonathan DeLay. And
absolutely, man.
People doubted him when he took over after Graves left for Lowndes. And it took those guys those players some time to gel. But I really think it goes back. And I know Tift County's not a very good football team, but that win they had there, right? They got momentum.
Yep.
They go into the bye week, right? They come out, and they have been on fire. Jay, I'm gonna tell you, Jay Randall, number 9. Y'all need to watch out. He had 4 catches for 112 yards, 2 touchdowns, and 2 interceptions. LG, great. That group has really played well. I didn't see him win in region. I'm sorry. I didn't. I had them as the 3rd seed. But my hat goes off to that group, and Thomasville Bulldog fans have something to be proud of.
Yeah, I guess the only surprising team to me, because we're just used to those guys, those Cougars out of Cordele playing really, really well, is they're sitting at 2-2 in the region, 5-4 overall. It's like, do they have a problem up in Cordele, or is it a young bunch, or what?
I don't know. I mean, they have some talent over there too. I think the linebacker, I can't think of the kid's name, but he leads the state in tackles.
Yeah,
they got some talent over there. They just have not been able to put it together. And that's shocking because we're so used to seeing them being really good year after year.
Exactly right. Cole, have I told you lately? It sounds like a Rod Stewart song, but have I told you lately how much I love Mountain Dew Zero? I love this drink.
No.
Thank you to the Pepsi Bottling Company for sponsoring our show because I really, really love this drink. Hey, let's talk about one of the regions that we've got our eye on. We've been talking about this region throughout the year, but Region 1AA. This region is by no means settled yet, even though Fitzgerald leads the way at 4-0. There's 2 games left, right? My Berrien Rebels are sitting there at 2-2, 5-3 overall. They didn't play this past Friday night, but man, oh man, they've got an elimination game this coming Friday against Dodge as well.
Yeah, it's a big game. Honestly, this region is a lot better than I thought it would be to start the year. I didn't see Worth County being this good. I'm sorry to my I got some friends that are big time Worth County fans. Sorry, I didn't see y'all even winning 5 games, much less 7-1. Cook, that's a shocker. That's another first year head coach. Byron Slack's done a phenomenal job. Coach Jackson Dean over there also has got that offense going. I know they took a upset loss, but they've been really good. Dodge has been up and down. They had a close game with Fitzgerald. Had a close game with Worth. Berrien County, hey, look, I'm sorry. Probably one of the more improved teams. I didn't see them winning 5 games. I didn't see them being in a position to get a playoff spot.
That's right.
But here we are, and we got to talk about the Berrien County Rebels out of Nastyville.
Now, a couple things that I'll say about this region. Cook County's loss to Dodge did surprise me. Not the fact that they lost, but Cook County, for the second week in the row, their defense has given up a lot of points.
Sure. Yeah, you start to wonder if that group over there is maybe getting wore down a little bit, because I'm not knocking them. They played a tough non-region schedule, and they've had to play a tough region schedule. So you just wonder, are they wearing out? They wore down. It's just a thought. I'm not giving an excuse, of course, but you just wonder, are they losing the juice, so to speak? I mean, so we're going to find out too. I mean, they got a pretty big game, LG, Friday night.
Yeah. Listen, I've got a lot riding on this Berrien game Friday night against Dodge. Berrien's got to travel on the road up to Dodge County. So I've got dinner at Ray's Mill Pond on the line. So if Berrien wins that game, then my offer still stands. Taking Tim Allagood, the head coach of the Rebels that I've given a hard time to the last couple of years, taking him and his bride out to dinner. Their choice. They want to go to Ray's Mill Pond. They want to go to Jack's Chop House, Mom and Dad, wherever they want to go. It's on me.
Yes, go to
as an
Ray's
alum
Mill
of the Berrien Rebels. I will gladly pay for their dinner to celebrate the first Rebel winning season since 1995.
Yeah, it's a lot riding on, and I know that's a program builder getting that 6th win to a program that really needs it. So, and I do think that Dodge and Berrien will be a really good football game.
That's right. That's right. So now here's the, I guess here's the Debbie Downer type of deal. Okay. If Berrien loses this week and somehow beats Fitzgerald the following week,
that ain't happening.
They would be 5-5. No. Is that right?
Yeah.
They're currently
no.
They would still have a winning season, right? Yeah, they would still be 6-4. But here's the thing. I still think they missed the playoffs, don't they?
Let's see.
So they would finish the season at 3-3 in the region.
Yes,
but they would have a loss to Dodge County.
Yeah,
so Dodge County would go to. So the Dodge County, the worst they could finish would be if they lost. No, this would be their final game. So they would go to 4-2. Berrien would be what, 3-3?
Mm-hmm.
If they lost this week and beat Fitzgerald, so they're out.
Yeah, well, I just like your chances a lot better this week than the following week. I don't think Berrien's ready to fight that dog yet.
That's exactly right.
or
Hey,
them
but listen,
hurricanes, so to speak.
listen, a rebel is a rebel. We will fight until the very end, until the last breath is out of our body.
Yeah, I understand that. That sounds good and all, but when you start messing with them Fitzgerald Purple Hurricanes, I don't know.
I hear you, man. I hear you. Listen, with 3 minutes left in the show, some people ask me, why don't I talk about Brooks and Irwin? I think that division has already been settled, hasn't it?
It has now.
Irwin defeated Brooks last Friday night, and Irwin are the champs.
Yeah, I think it's pretty soon. I mean, I'm not saying we won't see that bunch again, but yeah, I mean, uh, Brooks didn't get it done. Irwin was
That
able
was
to
surprising to me.
Yeah, I had Brooks. I had Brooks by 2 scores.
That was kind of a low-scoring game, given both of those teams.
Yeah, 19-7. It was real low scoring, but that Irwin defense is just stingy group. I was talking to somebody today that's really more familiar with that program than I am, and said the team has really gone off of Coach Soliday's his demeanor, his tough demeanor. They really got the character of him. And look, Irwin's tough to beat. I just didn't see it. I did not see anybody holding Brooks to 7 points. And this is an interesting stat. Irwin County man gave it to me. He said, "Look, you get on your show Tuesday night. Don't forget to tell everybody that we are 4-1 against Brooks the last 5 meetings."
Wow, is that right?
That's all.
Man, I did not realize that. All right, so a couple minutes left on the show. Let's close it out right. Let's talk about the big one down in Jacksonville this coming Saturday at 3:30 on CBS. We already know Georgia's going to beat Florida. What is the final score going to be, Cole?
You know what? I ain't finna let y'all catch me on record saying Georgia's going to win. I ain't doing it. I got the Gators winning 42-35 in an upset. Y'all ain't catching me on live talking about Georgia going to beat Florida.
Okay, listen, I'll let you off the hook on that, but everybody just heard your score. You kind of reversed it. You're expecting Georgia to win 42-35, but to save face, you had to say the Gators are going to win. I know how this game is played.
Man, y'all ain't none of my Gator buddies fitting to be in my inbox all night talking about, I can't believe you went on live talking about Georgia going to win. So, no, I am not, and I will be pulling for the blue and orange like I always do. But it's a fun game. It always is.
It's always closer than we think it's going to be.
Yeah, I mean, I've seen it both ways. I've seen Florida be picked by 28 and lose, and I've seen Georgia get picked up there high and lost. I mean, it's really one of those games. I think Florida's going to play their best ball game all season. I really do. I think they'll get it together. But the problem you worry about is Florida's defense is just not up to par right now. They have no problem scoring, but Georgia has an elite defense, and we'll see how it all works out. It's always a fun game. You can throw records out. I think Stetson Bennett said something like that earlier. He said he knows Billy Napier and his bunch will be ready.
Absolutely, man. He's saying all the right things as well. But in the end, I think Georgia takes this one 35-10.
10?
35-10. I didn't stutter.
This ain't Colquitt and Lowndes.
No, that was 42-14. I'm saying 35-10.
Yeah. I think Florida will manage more offense than that. As long Florida's game plan is simple. We go as Anthony Richardson goes. It depends on what kind of game he has. He's been inconsistent all year, so we'll see what he brings to the table Saturday, and I'm sure he'll be pretty fired up.
You know what the problem is with Richardson, right? As you know, he was doing all right when he had that great nickname AR-15. But when he dropped that one, that's when the Florida Gators went to pot. It's just there's a direct correlation.
Brother, we went down when Dan Mullen was the head coach at Florida. It ain't y'all's fault.
You got a point there. So anyway, guys, that's going to do it for our show tonight. Thanks for sticking with us. We had a fun week this week talking about all these region games. If you're a Lowndes fan, man, we got to win Friday night. We'll talk more about that in greater detail on Thursday night's Viking Nation Live. But until then, you guys have a great rest of the week. Thank you to my super fan buddy, Cole Moore. I'm Larry Godwin. You guys have been watching PreGame Blitz. Go Vikings.
Go Jackson.